The Happiness Factors. 5 Steps to Daily Happiness by Bradley Lenart. Introduction. Even though this is the first thing you are reading, I must confess this is the last thing I am writing. I could not have done the introduction justice until the book was finished because the writing of it has affected me in a meaningful way. To be fully authentic, I usually feel burnt out after completing a book, but I don't feel that way right now. I actually feel energized about the subject of helping people understand how to live happier. It has been written from a place of passion, determination, understanding, and concern. I have seen the good, the bad, and ugly of life. It is in that seeing that I've gained what I believe to be a painful wisdom. That wisdom is the knowing that most people do not live happy lives. Whether you are already happy and successful or whether you are down and out, this book can help you understand a simple process that can revolutionize how you feel day to day. In turn, this will help your daily performance, as well as help attract and create desirable circumstances into your life. I'm not here to change who you are, but my goal is to add to who you are. So let us begin a journey into self-discovery that can reinforce better days and a happier life for you, your friends, and your family. Let us move on to Chapter 1, Make a Pact. Do you remember when the first episode of Survivor aired? Al Gore demanded the recount for presidential-elect, and Jennifer Aniston married Brad Pitt? Those were the years 2000-2001. Depending upon when you are reading this, that was over 15 years ago. Think for a moment when those events happened. What were you like? Who were your friends? What were your hopes and dreams? If someone asked what you will be doing 15 years from now, what would you have told them? Are you living the life today you imagined 15-20 years ago? It passes by quickly, doesn't it? I have a few more questions for you, and here they are. How do you plan to live the next 15-20 years? How will you live today in order to create a better tomorrow? How should you think different? What do you need to learn? What in you needs to change in order to get where you want to go? Will you be happy? More importantly, what actions will you take today in order to make yourself happy in the future? You can see how quickly 15-20 years can fly by, and ready or not, the next 15 or 20 years will probably go by even quicker. Will you squeeze every bit of juice from life from now until then? Or are you going to let little aggravations get you down? Are you happy in your life right now? If your answer is sometimes or no, I'm here to tell you there's a better way. In this book, I will share with you something I call the happiness factors. These factors are 5 simple steps you can take daily that will help keep your life moving forward. I'm here to tell you it is possible to be happy most of the time, but it does take a bit of understanding. School systems do not teach us happiness 101, and if you do not take control of this process, the outcome can be less than favorable. However, taking the time to employ these 5 factors can affect all the areas of your life in a very positive way. When you are happy, you tap into greater creativity. You also attract positivity into your life. You also create momentum. Happiness acts as a panacea to the amygdala, which is an almond-shaped set of neurons responsible for fear deep inside the brain. In layman's terms, when you are happy, it calms the areas of the brain responsible for fight or flight. One of the greatest actions you can take for yourself, your friends, and your family is knowing how to be happy most of the time. Happiness creates more energy, and with more energy, you begin giving more value to the world. The more value you give, the more value comes back to you. When you are happy, you are your most authentic, and this is when you demonstrate the person you were really meant to be. When you are happy, you influence others to like you, and like attracts like. When people like you, it determines whether or not you get promoted or if you move up in the world. Happy people tend to be more resourceful, and through years of resourcefulness, they tend to be more successful. In Dale Carnegie's famous book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, he explains the power of cheerfulness when influencing others. Our relations with people is everything, and nothing helps others associate good feelings to you more than being a happy and cheerful person. Whatever it is you think you need, whether a new career, a great body, more money, or a great relationship, these things are not actually what you want. What you really want is the happiness you think you're going to gain from those things. So in life and in business, we all just want to be happy, and that's the bottom line. Happiness is our ultimate outcome, but we tend to forget that along the way. These 5 steps can keep you focused on your desired outcomes rather than worried about what may go awry or what has gone wrong in the past. These 5 steps work in symbiosis, which means they work together. These steps will keep you balanced between self-awareness, a positive mindset, and a sense of excitement for your future. I believe this is the way life was meant to be lived. In this book, I put these sentences together in a very specific order using conversational hypnosis. As you read, it will help condition your mind for happiness. You will begin using difficult situations in your life as stepping stones for growth. In the online marketing world, the most important element to share is authenticity. In this book, I open up to you, bringing my most authentic self to the table. I will tell you my story and exactly how I turn things around in order to be happy. Everything happens for a reason, my friend, and every adversity, every failure and heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. Napoleon Hill. The fact you took the time to download this book shows me you are ready to live a higher quality of life, so I'm here to deliver. For the past 15 years, I've been on a massive search, a search for the key understandings which can create happiness, joy, passion, and meaning. It has been my quest to find the common elements that can increase the quality of life, then share that knowledge with people. Before it was cool to be an online marketer, I had a dream to do exactly what I've done with you today. I've had a dream to get my content to the masses by helping people live better lives through the internet. Today, I'm able to share that dream with you. But the person who benefits the most here is me. You may ask, how is that possible? Well, in order for me to tell you how to be happy, I have to make absolutely sure I am practicing what I preach. If I write this book for you, this holds me to a higher standard. If I ever begin to flag on these principles, I would feel as though I am letting you down. So I would like to thank you, my friend. I would like to thank you for giving me your time and attention. I would like to thank you for having enough faith. Words cannot describe what this means. Between you and I right now, let us make a pact. A pact between you, the reader, and myself, the author, that says from this day forward, we will never give up on our hopes and dreams. And every time we feel as though we want to give in to negativity, doubt, or fear, we will stand up again. We will stand up against the naysayers and the inevitable resistance we may come against as we begin to innovate. Let us silently support each other through the inevitable difficulties and challenges that may come upon us. As these difficulties come up, let us immediately remember these words I write to you here. Let every one of our setbacks, challenges, and defeats trigger a memory inside that brings us both back to this very moment right here and now. As I sit here writing, flashes of people's faces who have reached out to me in the past to tell me my work has changed their life continues to enter my mind. The girl on Twitter whose husband was leaving and told me my book helped get her through those difficult times. The woman on Snapchat who lost her mother to cancer who said the only shining light in her life were the daily posts I put on my blog. My old friend Dave, who was also my stage tech in my rock band, who said my content changed his life. The girl who lives down the street who found me on Facebook and delivered a beautiful basket of wine and cheese to my front door. The list goes on, but make no mistake, I remember every single person who reaches out, and I can see all your faces. With a tear building, yes, there really was a tear building in the corner of my eye, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for letting me into your world. I feel my whole life has led up to this moment, and it is an honor to be here with you today. As cliche as it may sound, let us make a pact from this day forward to fight the good fight and believe again. To understand there will be inevitable disappointments, but however difficult they may be, let us never forget to live as examples for our friends, our family, and most of all, our children. Let us live as examples by being happy every day as we continue moving toward our path to greatness together. Chapter 2. Create a better meaning. Thousands of people have used the same 5 steps I will give you in this book to become more happy. Over the past 6 years, I've had the privilege to work with people from 7 different countries through my phone and Skype coaching on the internet. I've had the privilege to coach them in the areas of self-help, personal development, spirituality, relationships, business, marketing, and more. This formula has worked for housewives, mothers, teachers, lawyers, and many people around the globe. This formula can also work for you. The past 6 years of my life have been incredible, but it wasn't always this way. Those of you who know my story, you know it began when I woke in a burn unit hospital. The night before, I was trapped in a tool shed that ignited then exploded from gasoline fumes. I was trapped in that little shed for what seemed to be hours, but was really just a few minutes. The smoke and fire burned my lungs, and I was critical for over 3 weeks at the Bridgeport, Connecticut burn unit. When I awoke the next day, I really needed to do some soul searching. I was shown just how fragile life can be and that it can be taken from us unexpectedly at any given time. I promised myself from that day forward I would live full throttle and with as much happiness and passion I can muster up. I found that life was a gift, so I set myself out to achieve my goals. My dream was to be financially free so I could take care of my family and have the freedom to do what I wanted when I wanted. I also wanted to contribute to something greater than myself. I wanted to have the freedom to live my passions while simultaneously helping others. My goal was to be a millionaire. I was soon able to get close, but my success was short-lived. We humans are products of our thoughts, our conditioning, our environment, and upbringing. As a child, I grew up in an environment that was, let's say, less than elegant. Although our mother had unconditional love, little did I know the drama I experienced as a kid would come back to haunt me. It would ingrain deep-seated beliefs that would eventually hold me back as an adult. After getting very close, I lost my entire nest egg. I squandered over $900,000 to be exact. How could this happen? It was due to three primary reasons. The first reason was I did not understand money. Money is a mindset, and without the proper psychology, I lost it all. The second was due to those self-sabotage patterns. The third was due to my environment. At the time, I was married to my ex, who was disabled with a severe case of epilepsy. You would not know it if you met her, but she would often have seizures throughout the day without warning. Doctors could not give her a driver's license, and because we had a 2-year-old, my ex needed people around when I was at work. Now, feuds between families happen all the time, but this was no ordinary feud. This was more like a competition from which I had no idea I was involved. It was not my in-laws. It was two of the step-in-laws living there for free who had a problem. These two were the type who would bring others down if they saw them moving ahead and especially happy. Like me, they received a traditional education but did not understand entrepreneurship. The stepmother and youngest sister literally stalked me on the internet almost every day anonymously. They posted hateful, untrue comments on my blogs while my ex-wife and I were living under the same roof. All the while, we never had a clue it was them. I was a busy entrepreneur taking care of my family, and they were always nice as pie in front of our face. First, they created dummy email accounts, then posted nasty comments about me and my family every day for months, until I learned how to track back their IP address. Tracking back the IP means I was able to see where those hater comments were coming from. Much to my surprise, it tracked right back to my own house. At the time, I was renovating their bedrooms for free, paying for flooring and paint out of pocket as a gesture of kindness. I just received a 6-year publishing deal, and needless to say, they had sour grapes. The stress began to affect our marriage, and in a short time we divorced. There was nothing I could do. My ex-wife was much younger and disabled, and she needed her family. My ex-father-in-law had a heart condition but worked 7 days per week to provide for the ex-step-in-laws. He was a good old-fashioned man, and to him blood was thicker than water. Little did he know they made fun of him for working so hard behind his back. This is what I was dealing with. Call it jealousy, cynicism, or politics. A jealous spirit holds no logic. The more I tried to make amends, the more they vilified and twisted things. The step-in-laws grew up in the urban areas of Bridgeport, Connecticut, and never saw a true philanthropist before. Let's see, he's a singer in a band but doesn't drink or smoke. He says he's toured the world. He's a writer, a speaker, a bodybuilder, a helicopter pilot, and now he has a publishing deal? He must be a fake. In their mind, they created a psychological term known as a scotoma. A scotoma is a phenomenon of mental misperception. The brain is fooled, for the eyes see what they believe is true, not what is real. You should have seen their faces when they saw my certificate from the FAA for VFR helicopter pilot, or my award from the USO after touring the world, or the day my publisher pulled up in his Lamborghini Siesta Elemento, a $3.1 million car, only 21 of them made in 2011. Now, people who know me know the last thing I am is shallow or materialistic. I was not there to compete. I was just doing my thing. But that's the way they were. And when the step-in-laws saw me create so much positive change so quickly, they reacted like children. The subconscious can hold beliefs that say this person is this way or that person is that way. Our brains can find proof to back up anything, so we have to be very careful. Some people create scotomas like there are no opportunities, life is hard, or there is no money. So this is what they tend to manifest. Human beings are self-fulfilling. Any healthy, sane individual can achieve anything if they are creative, consistent, and willing to sacrifice. Sure, life can be a grind and bad things happen to good people, but if you are reading this, you do not live in a third world country. In fact, you have chance for growth around you every single day. I want you to start noticing the little opportunities you may take for granted every day and be very careful of the negative influence around you. Even as adults, our subconscious can be very suggestible, so try not to watch the news or engage in petty negative dialogue. Walk away from childish gossip about others. Live by the power of positive intention and begin feeding your mind good input. As far as the step-in-laws, they should redirect that energy into hustle. Stop putting others down and use it towards something productive. I don't know if you've ever been in this position when a group of people who seem nice single you out behind your back, but it is not a good feeling, especially when your intent was to help them. This is what happens in corporate America and politics every day. Quite the opposite of the usual upbeat message you would expect from a book called The Happiness Factors, but truth is reality and reality is truth. All I could do now is show compassion and wish them well. As far as my ex-wife, they moved cross-country, but her and I remain best of friends for the benefit of my daughter, and I do whatever I can to help them both. But after the divorce, I went into depression and bankruptcy. I lost faith in the world and all faith in people. I found myself in a dark spot. Those were difficult times. So how am I able to be here with you today? How was I able to turn my life around after all that? It wasn't easy, but the number one principle which helped bounce me back quickly were these happiness factors. You see, I realized these factors were the common elements which always brought me out of a slump after a fall. The common theme I see amongst my coaching clients are that these factors are in place when they make positive shifts in their lives, and you can do the same. But knowledge is futile without action, and action is the ultimate power to change your life. In order to make a committed action, you must first use the one universal tool you were given as a human being. The tool I am referring to is the most powerful force you have in your arsenal. That tool is choice. If you are not happy with any area of your life, you can choose to look at the situation differently by finding a good meaning just as I did. Also, when you make a committed choice to follow through on a system, idea, or formula like the happiness factors, you begin to gain serious power. You see, after all that I realized, to make light of this, I would have to change the meaning of that situation. With a new meaning came a new outcome. That situation was exactly what I needed to propel my life forward even faster. It was what I needed to reinforce an ideology. It also gave me better understanding with specific personality types. This is all part of the price we pay to be of the top 3% who live full throttle. As you begin toward your path to greatness, you will definitely run into many haters. You cannot convince everyone, you just have to move on. Although very painful, this was the very best lesson learned, but it first came from me making a choice. A choice to see this as an opportunity for growth rather than something destructive. The universe helps those who help themselves, and this is the power we all have to take responsibility. We must take total responsibility for everything that happens regardless of who is at fault. Responsibility is your ability to respond properly and your ability to find the meaning you needed to learn out of every situation. The meaning will always eventually present itself if you choose to seek it. In this book, you will be presented a formula. Formulas are measurable, and when something is measurable, it sticks. Change comes from a choice, and the choice is always yours. The choice is yours to become one of the thousands who have used this formula to become more happy. You can now do the same. Chapter 3. Going Deeper. With any problem, challenge, or roadblock, we must understand why a thing is the way it is in order to defeat it. In this chapter, we will go a bit deeper to find out why people become unhappy. We will also bring up some of the roadblocks and challenges many people face in order to become happier. In these early years of the 21st century, we all live busy lives. The real kicker is everyone thought technology would help make our lives easier. It turns out technology has made our life more complex. Many people feel they simply do not have the time to go through 5 steps daily. The truth is, these 5 steps will actually make you more relaxed, purposeful, and driven. Therefore, you will be more efficient. This in turn can boost productivity and performance. Think of it as an investment of your time. Many people think it is outside circumstances which determine happiness. Yes, when good things happen outside of us, we do become happier, but it is usually short-lived. The reason for this is because the human brain is wired to evolve, so whenever we get what we want, we inherently raise our standards. The fact we humans are wired to raise our standards is evolutionary and necessary. This is exactly how the human species survived over 200,000 years. Some people actually think unhappiness is normal, like we all have a cross to bear. Some people speculate this to be a result of hidden totalitarianism or a planned indoctrination by the government. I'm not big into conspiracy. Unhappiness really is just a form of discomfort, which is a call to action. What do I mean? Well, unhappiness is there to tell us something in our life needs change. Problems occur when we get caught in a loop of looking at what is going wrong rather than using it to change our approach. We as humans get more of what we focus on, so it becomes a downward spiral. This supports depression and learned helplessness. Learned helplessness is a condition which people suffer from a sense of powerlessness. It arises from a traumatic event or a persistent failure to succeed. Through many failures and setbacks, we learn to be helpless, and this is when persistent unhappiness occurs. Whether it happens consciously or subconsciously, every single person on the planet experiences some level of learned helplessness. Your job is to lower your level of learned helplessness every way you can. In this book, I will show you how. Many people are products of social conditioning from the media. What do I mean? The media conditions our mind to focus on fear, doubt, and scarcity. It also brings us something called media bias. Many of the stories from the media are sensationalized, and when it comes to success, they give us unrealistic timelines. There is no lose weight now or get rich quick. There is no quick fix. Achievement takes time and specialized knowledge, but the media would have you think otherwise. Take a look at the story of Bill Gates. Everyone thought Bill was an overnight success, but the media only shows you the outcome of all his hard work. They don't tell you from age 20 to age 30 he never took a day off. He said, quote, "Not even once for 10 years did I take one day off." Bill Gates. Through all that, he was designing and planning the Windows operating system that would change the world. In the meantime, he had to work a corporate job he hated in order to support himself. It took Albert Einstein years to come up with the theory of relativity while he was working at a post office. So people tend to think their life is going to change overnight. They put their best foot forward, then run into many roadblocks and challenges. They don't get what they want as quickly as expected, so they often become bitter or just give up. When they see someone making it, they may even jump to conclusions claiming that person must be lucky or a scam. These haters often put others down to make themselves feel better about their own results. It becomes self-fulfilling because this mindset is exactly what is holding them back. It takes humility to become happy and successful because nobody has all the answers. The truth is, change happens through consistent long-term planning and a willingness to learn from every person or situation. Take a look at Sam Walton. Although Walmart is a bit controversial, no doubt Sam was one of the happiest, most successful entrepreneurs of the 21st century. Did you know Sam was thrown in a Brazilian jail for crawling on the floors at a local market? When the police asked Sam what he was doing, he said, "I was measuring the aisles. I wanted to see if the Brazilian retailers knew something about discount sales I didn't." That humility was exactly why Sam was worth over $160 billion at the time. The happiest, most successful people on the planet know every person they meet has a nugget of gold inside their brain. Every newscaster's job is to bring you the most rating-grabbing story around the globe. Your subconscious mind's main concern is survival, not happiness. If a story pops up in the media that is fear-driven or shocking, your brain will pay close attention because it is evolutionary for us humans to protect ourselves from pain. So what is the price of all this negative input from the media? Well, the subconscious mind works off the imagery and input we feed it. It does not work off logic and cannot decipher between fiction and truth. Just like self-sabotage patterns after a tough childhood, all that negative conditioning can hold us back in many areas of life. It is a form of social conditioning or a collective learned helplessness. Now, if this was happening to you, how would you know unless someone like me came along and pointed it out? Remember, it is subconscious. This is very important to understand, and that is why my catchphrase has always been, to live full throttle. Awareness itself can sometimes help or be curative, and that is why I bring this to your attention. Some people think happiness is something that happens to them. As you can see, happiness comes from what you believe about yourself and the world. If you believe what happens, whether good or bad, can be used as a learning experience, that is exactly what you will create. Bottom line, we co-create our lives by what we choose to believe. Another great roadblock to happiness is a lack of a system or social support. Sometimes people around us are miserable, so it rubs off. Miserable people often say things like happiness is genetic or happiness is only left up to the elite few. Yes, it is true some people are naturally happier through a genetic disposition. However, this does not mean you were meant to be miserable. Epigenetics is the notion that even our genes, or the way the cell interprets the information coming from the gene, can be swayed. This depends upon our environment, how we interpret our world, i.e. thought, and how we conduct our lives. Therefore, happiness is not a fixed determining factor. Unhappiness comes from a patterned way of looking at your life. You can rewire those patterns. In this book, I will show you how. Remember, we are in this together to share a pact that says we will go out and live as examples, especially for our children. Your children model their behaviors off you, so the more you exude happiness, the happier your children will be for the rest of their lives. There is no monetary value equal to your children's happiness. Happiness comes from a choice, and the more you choose to be happy, the more this behavior will be ingrained. I will give you some tools in the following chapters that can change your level of happiness long-term and in the moment, but happiness must first come from a decision. Decide today you'll become one of the happiest people in your social or peer group, or at least in front of your children. For the sake of your children or the people you love, make a committed decision to choose happiness regardless of what may be going wrong in your life. The simple fact you are here reading to the end of chapter 3 tells me you are innovating and ready for change. I want to commend you for that. Your awesome humility is exactly what it takes to be successful. You are one of the top 3%. Let us keep moving ahead full throttle. Congratulations. Chapter 4, Testimonials. Check out what some other people had to say about my work and the happiness factors. Brad's insights are sound and strong, a must for any person looking to increase happiness. Dr. Maxwell Swift, author, therapist, PhD, and friend, New Haven, Connecticut. After 3 coaching sessions, Brad gave me advice, and I am now creating a successful life. I never felt better. Brad is also our landlord. I couldn't ask for a better one. Jessica Nash, Dayton, Ohio. For years, I was unhappy. After applying the happiness factors, I got into a great relationship, and we are now very happy. John Carano, Wallingford, Connecticut. As a friend of Brad's since childhood, this man has been of an analytical mind since we were 7. He is always looking for patterns and developing formulas to help people. We were always impressed with his natural abilities with such things. I recommend taking advantage of Brad's book and coaching sessions. Mark Proto, Team MMA Jiu-Jitsu coach and fellow founding band member. Full Throttle, 247, New Haven, Connecticut. Brad is helping people around the world. His high-performance ideas are similar to what helped prepare me for 2 Super Bowls against Dan Fouts and Marino during the season. Gary Killer Kowalski, Deep River, Connecticut. Former left tackle, San Diego Chargers, and tight end, Los Angeles Rams. After reading Brad's book, I now have the job of my dreams. I created a great cover band and found a great girl. Life is good. Robert Hayden, Stamford, Connecticut, friend and lead singer, Trial Run Band. Chapter 5, My Story. Who am I? What is my story? For years, I struggled to try and live a happy life due to those self-sabotage patterns. I grew up thinking drama was normal, so my first 20 years were difficult. I kept running into major roadblocks and failed in many areas, especially relationships. After high school, my girlfriend Trisha was nice enough to lend me money to go to college. She was a beautiful girl, and of course back then, I messed that one up too. But thanks to her and her mother, Peach, I was able to get an education. I went to school for psychology and business management, then later for communications, but my real dream was to be a rock star. I figured somebody's got to do it, so why not me? When I was a kid, my sister brought me to see a Journey rock concert. Through the eyes of a child, I saw Steve Perry group together 50,000 strangers through the power of music. From that day forward, I was never the same. When I was a kid, I had stepfathers who would often drink and get violent. My older brother became my father figure, but he ran away at 12 years old. I'll never forget the horror in my mother's voice the day the school bus pulled up and my brother did not get off. She was just standing there at the end of the driveway, in tears. It turns out my brother ran away to live with my real father in Vermont. Although my dad was an awesome guy, after an ugly divorce, he planned the whole thing behind her back. There was a missing child report given, and my dad never told us he was there until the cops investigated. Due to some strange Connecticut laws, my mother was unable to force my brother to come back home. These are the types of traumas which can create learned helplessness. Today, my mother has never remarried, and she often feels lonely. When it comes to marriage, she has learned to be helpless rather than changing her approach and trying again. If we are not careful, events from the past can affect our happiness in the future. Enough of that, but needless to say, I experienced a lot of pain as a kid. My friend Chris's family gave me a place to live throughout my teen years. Trisha was a gorgeous blonde college girl who lived 3 doors down. I remember her throwing pebbles at her window late at night. We would then talk for hours until the sun came up. Those were amazing times. I struggled for years with depression, unhappiness, and a perpetual negative outlook of the world. I also developed a bit of OCD, inferiority issues, and social anxiety. People would often ask me, Brad, why don't you have more self-esteem? My only outlet was music. It was the only thing that gave me confidence. When I was on stage, I could let my real self come out. People would ask, was that you up there? Do you have some kind of alter ego? It was true. I was a different person while singing. It was a freeing experience, grouping crowds of people together through the power of music, and on stage, I was happy. When I would command a room as a lead singer, I felt on top of the world. The benefits of receiving more attention from the female persuasion wasn't too bad either. In the audience, I could see people smiling and cheering, or they were just laughing at me, but this was how I connected with people. I was the type who took everything to the extreme, so I figured the harder and longer I worked at music, the closer I would get to my dreams. After college, I learned how to redirect OCD through a formula I developed so it worked for me rather than against me. The formula allowed me to learn any skill I wanted. The formula is simple. Number 1, know what you want and write it out on paper to get a clear vision. Keep the paper at your bedside. Review and visualize every morning and night. Doing this activates a part of the brain known as the RAS. The RAS is responsible for identifying opportunities and will keep you on course. Number 2, begin working toward that vision. Number 3, learn the skills needed to get you where you want to go through repetition. I do mean over and over again. Number 4, notice what works and simply do more of it, doubling down on your strengths. Then, simply outwork your competition. When my competition was relaxing, I was up all night, innovating, learning, getting better, and creating results. In the span of my life so far, I've learned how to play guitar, bass, drums, sing, public speaking, write, DJ, run an entertainment business, build and restore aircraft, fly a helicopter, yes, real 2- and 4-seat helicopters, maintain optimum fitness like carpentry, investing, entrepreneurship, business, internet marketing, graphic arts, and the list goes on. Now, I don't tell you all this to brag. I tell you this to get across to you that any person can learn anything if they are committed and willing to sacrifice. Everyone wants to be successful, but if you're only willing to sacrifice an average amount, then guess what? Your results will be average. If you want to stand out of the crowd, you have to hustle harder and never stop learning. As you create results, you will also create attention. Some people may say and do things to try to slow you down. Some people do this subconsciously because they are either threatened or they are conditioned to live an average lifestyle. If this happens with someone you love or a family, all you can do is try to be understanding. These days, I spot this behavior coming a mile away, so step number 5, which seals the deal, is don't let anyone stop you. Be very careful who you let in your influence, and if you sense any jealousy or cynicism, run for the hills. There are over 7.1 billion people on the planet. Experts estimate there will be over 8 billion by 2025. Don't ever let someone put you down, make you feel bad, or treat you poorly due to sour grapes. This formula worked for me, but only to an extent. The problem with all work and no play is your life becomes dry and off balance. Sadly, I was also starting to separate myself from a lot of people I grew up with. This was not due to some elitist attitude. I was just sick and tired of certain people getting weird because I was doing well. Yet again, a classic case of sour grapes. I look at life this way. We've all been given a certain amount of time here. We get one chance to live it, and however we choose to spend it is our own choice. I was not going to be like most of society and settle for less. If I wanted to spend my time working, it should not be a problem with people who are truly on my side. I had very little ego, but sometimes this actually hurt me. In spirituality, many leaders try to diminish the ego. The truth is, having a bit of ego can be a good thing. Our ego is there to protect our identity from other people's limiting beliefs and destructive influence. Ego is also designed to help with proper boundaries. Although having a bit of ego can be useful, we must never let it go out of control. So not only should you watch others, but watch yourself. There is a fine balance to all this, and we never want to let success go to our heads. At the same time, if you're a person like me who tends to have a lot of humility, you have to be very careful not to come off too nice. Most every successful self-made person goes through this. Even Tony Robbins talks about how a lot of his friends vilified him because he wanted to pay for them to come on trips after he became successful. I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke up your ass. Unfortunately, happiness and success is sometimes a lonely journey. Most people are not ready for change, and you may feel that tension between you and them as you begin to create it. The good news is, as you become more happy and successful, you will also begin to attract other people who live by your same values. They will take you for who you are and still love you. You must also take the time to smell the roses. From time to time, sit down and reevaluate where your life is going. With this formula, I was able to get very good results with almost anything I pursued, but I still had those self-sabotage patterns. In my late 20s and early 30s, I was close to my desired status. I just came off a world tour with my rock band DMS, then Full Throttle. We were never famous, but were the staple band for the international USO tours, entertaining American troops abroad. It was a privilege and an honor to be traveling the globe, living my dreams, singing in a great touring rock band at American military bases. When I came back to the States, I even shared the stage with Tony Robbins. He was one of my greatest early mentors. Tony and I are both helicopter pilot rock star wannabes, and during one of his seminars, he and I met in the men's bathroom of all places. I was in the best shape of my life, and quite honestly, I think Tony was intrigued by the fact I was a rock singer. Tony invited me on stage as an example of living health and what the power of beliefs can do for discipline. Life was moving fast for me, almost too fast. I even built my own helicopter and flew it like Tony. Yes, I am talking about a real two-seat helicopter. It is the same make and model the famous puppeteer comedian Jeff Dunham flies. Some people in my hometown would call me Tony Robbins Jr. I would fly all over the state and I had a message. The message was simple. You can do it. Now, this is not the end of my story. During this time, I went behind my house, which had a large stretch of property. At the end stood an old run-down tool shed. The intent was to knock down the shed, then fly in a training helicopter like my pilot buddies, so I could train from the convenience of my own backyard. I usually hired a local Spanish kid who was unavailable that day, so I began knocking the shed down myself. I love getting outside in DIY projects. My first step was to smoke out the bees which accumulated in the rafters. The plan was to smoke out the bees, knock down the shed, then wait for my helper to haul out the debris. Unbeknownst to me, the shed had containers of gasoline well hidden up above. As I began smoking out the bees, the fumes from the gas ignited then exploded. It was a raging inferno in seconds. When the explosion happened, I drew in a deep breath from shock, and the fire literally went down my esophagus into my lungs. I immediately began beating on the burning slider door. The door finally broke away, and I fell on top of it just outside the entrance. As I looked up behind me, I saw a raging inferno over 30 feet in the air, and the heat was intense. I was in total shock and could not decipher whether this was happening for real or just a bad dream. As I got up, I looked down at my right hand. The skin was peeled back, charred and badly blistered. I then reached up to feel my face. That moment, I knew something was terribly wrong. I ran 200 yards as fast as I could inside the house to look into a hallway mirror. I saw charred skin hanging off my face, neck, chest, arms, and shoulders. I had second and third degree burns to over 33% of my body. At the time, a good part of my income was sustained by work as a male fitness model. My friend John DeSalvo from New York City did more romance novel covers than Fabio. John helped me get into the industry, and it was an easy way for me to supplement my income. I only did a few covers, including an action series called Red Cell, but at the time, modeling was a big part of my life. My face was discolored, and the fate of the scarring was unknown. As I was looking in the hallway mirror, the excruciating pain began to set in. I kept thinking, what have I done? I was finally happy, and now look what happened. That moment, I heard a Spanish voice coming from my front porch. The sun was setting, and this man was fishing for catfish at a nearby reservoir. He heard the explosion and ran toward my house following the flames. The man was saying, "Sir, do you want help?" A dark-skinned Hispanic man came through my front door and immediately asked where the baño was. Baño was Spanish for bathroom. I pointed, and the man instructed me to follow. The Spanish man turned on the cold water and started soaking towels, squeezing them and placing them on my face, arms, neck, chest, and shoulders. He knew exactly what to do. This man, who I never met before, stayed there with me, taking care of my boiling skin. As the paramedics arrived, a crowd was waiting in my driveway. They all seemed just as in shock as I was. The pain began to set in deeper, and everything started to move like a slow-motion movie. My face was swollen and peeled. I was wrapped in bandages, and I must have looked like a character from a horror film. As they wheeled me out, the crowd began clapping and shouting things like, "You're going to be okay, and take care of yourself." These were my neighbors and their friends. These people dealt with helicopters flying in and a crash, loud rock band rehearsals, and now an explosion from a shed fire. Just before they shut the doors, I looked up, and there was the man who helped me. With the help of this man's caring, my skin would heal quicker and with minimal scarring. When I asked for his name, in a soft tone he said, "Angel." What a coincidence. Up to this point, I modeled my favorite speakers, reading as many books as I could in the areas of psychology and self-development. I also did almost every training program and seminar known to man. Many of my favorites were Deepak Chopra, Wayne Dyer, Mitch Albom, Christopher Hitchens, and Brian Tracy, to name a few. At the time, I was using Tony Robbins' personal power program as gospel. I was a powerlifter, and weightlifting really helped me understand the power of quantum healing and the mind-body connection. Not to mention, I also walked on fire with Tony just a few months prior. My mind was full throttle strong, but this shed fire situation required a whole new level. On the ride to the hospital, I kept asking the paramedic if my face was going to be scarred for life. He said, "We can never tell with these injuries, but we're more worried about your smoke inhalation." He was right. For the next 3 weeks, I was critical and barely able to breathe. I remember lying there listening to the siren thinking, well, I had a good run. I remember thinking if I die tomorrow, if I had major scars, at least I had a good 30 years of my life. I couldn't believe what happened. I was a person with a mission and a dream, and in an instant it seemed to be gone. During my 12-month recovery, we were also informed my mother had breast cancer and her fate was also unknown. Again, these were difficult times. Falling into depression, I lost faith. As I was laying in the hospital bed, there was a man there next to me in an incubator. I do mean a glass box that only allowed in oxygen. He was moaning and mostly naked. From time to time, he would acknowledge me by turning his head slightly. He and I created a connection between us by using only our eyes and facial gestures. My goal was to help inspire people and show them the possibilities life has to offer. I tried to get through to this man with some form of inspirational message. I thought somehow I'd be able to help him create some hope. The problem was he was unable to speak and the glass box separated us. This man, who was my roommate in the Bridgeport, Connecticut burn unit, died the next day. On this very day, I lied in the hospital thinking about all that happened. The seminars, walking on fire, the tours, the helicopters, the shed fire, the personal development, the sour grapes. Also, as I mentioned earlier, somewhere in between I was involved in a helicopter crash, but we'll save that story for another book. It was the day that man died in front of me I decided to fight once again. I decided no matter how bad things could get, somebody always had it worse, and those people need my information and what I have to share. I decided I would overcome the situation and make the best of it regardless of the outcome. I was wrapped head to toe, and the doctors could not tell me how I was going to heal. That very day, I made a promise to cherish the good years and to tell my story to the world. Most of all, I wanted to show people what was possible. Not the fear, not the disaster, not the abandonment, not all the disorder the media feeds to us every day. I wanted to show people the possibilities life has to offer to each and every one of us by living as an example. I promised myself I would get out of the burn unit stronger and wiser. I promised I would take that knowledge to the world and use my experience to help people create a better life for themselves. You see, I realize the time we have on this planet is very short. So if we have a dream, we must pursue it right now because there are only so many tomorrows. I found that growing and sharing was the meaning to life. Sure, some people will continue to be cynical, spiteful, and jealous. Who knows, maybe God puts those people in our lives to test our resolve. No doubt there are people on this planet who do not have good intent, but they're the minority, not the majority. I decided to think about the rest of us, the good people who can resonate with a good message. People like Angel. The doctors at the burn unit never saw a person heal so quickly. My recovery seemed almost a miracle. Every time we went in for grafting, they would decide to wait one more day. Grafting is a procedure they do which allows them to take a section of skin from one part of the body to another. The doctors used me as an example of one of the quickest healing patients they ever saw. They never ended up doing the surgeries. My skin was healing so quickly they decided to let it heal on its own. During recovery, I read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich over and over. I deeply visualized my skin healing from the inside out. I would listen to Tony Robbins' personal power program during the excruciating skin scraping procedures I endured twice per day. To heal the skin and minimize scarring, the burn unit has a skin scraping process. Nurses dip patients in a sterile tub filled with solution and scrape the new budding skin down. It is said to be one of the most painful procedures aside from brain surgery. Rather than letting this get me down, I decided to take the pain as an exercise to make my mind stronger. By default, this burn accident was making me unstoppable. When a patient burns the skin, the quicker the patient heals, the less scarring takes place and the better the patient looks when healed. I never saw Angel again, however. The trauma and reflection required to get through this was the final ingredient needed to break through my childhood self-sabotage barriers. Today, through my research, I believe I've found the true meaning to life. I believe as the universe continues to expand, it is our duty to expand with it. Otherwise, we resist nature herself. All the while, help others create the best meaning for their lives. Depression, overwhelm, a sense of learned helplessness, frustration, and non-direction are all the effects of not growing up to our potential. There are also universal laws we must consider. Just like the laws of physics, we should also consider the dynamic laws of attraction. Chapter 6. The Great Paradox. You may find yourself struggling to be happy because you bought into some simple myths about happiness. In this chapter, we will dispel some of those myths and reveal a necessary awareness which can help create ultimate lifelong happiness. Some people think if they exude happiness, other people may view them as naive or Pollyanna. Some people think if they become more happy, they will be less productive or viewed as immature. Many times, our culture sets us up to be unhappy. For instance, many people think winning the lotto will make them happy. Although winning the lotto can create a better sense of financial security, it doesn't mean it will make you happy long term. There is a huge problem with believing something outside of yourself will make you happy. The problem with this is no matter what you achieve, you take yourself with you. What do I mean? Whether you win the lotto, get that great relationship, or get that new job, you are still the same person, and unless your perspective changes, you will eventually end up unhappy again. We all have a subconscious blueprint inside. We've all heard the car accident scenario that says when 5 people witness a car accident, you get 5 different stories. This is due to the way each individual filters their own reality based upon their own internal blueprint. So let us say you were going to build a house, but you only had one set of blueprints. If the blueprint remains the same, you will end up building the same style house. So if we truly want to be happy long term, we have to change our happiness blueprint. Otherwise, we go right back to how we were. This blueprint consists of your beliefs, values, your preconceived notions or expectations, your references, and your habitual thought patterns. This all adds up to determine what you focus on, what you notice, and what things mean to you. Earlier, I mentioned the RAS. RAS stands for a part of the brain known as the reticular activating system, otherwise known as the extrathalamic control modulatory system. This part of the brain literally filters your reality. Your brain can only perceive or take in a certain amount of information within any given realm of time. There are many opportunities around us every day, but the RAS acts like a doorway or a filter. If something happens outside of our perception, this means the RAS has filtered it out. Like the scotomas we talked about in Chapter 2, just because you don't always perceive these opportunities or notice them, doesn't mean they are not there. Some of the happiest people in the world experience life through a very specific blueprint. Their blueprint allows the RAS to let in information which makes them happy. Guess what? If we adopt the same blueprint, we will also experience happiness. I can write an entire book on this subject alone, but for now, just know this also works for success. This is why people say success is a mindset. I am here to tell you there are little opportunities around you every single day which can lead you to your dreams and happiness. The problem is these little opportunities are being filtered out due to your conditioning. I mean, if you live in America, what else is there to say? We live in so much abundance here, but most people are focused on what they don't have, so it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Also, television shows us a limited framework. What do I mean by this? Commercial after commercial, show after show, and movie after movie shows an expectation of what we think we need to be happy. You know how it goes. One day you walk into a coffee shop or bar, and there he or she will be sitting. There is your soulmate, and with one glance, it is love at first sight. Then you will live happily ever after. Or the game shows like The Price is Right, which train people that one day you should win some big downfall and then your whole life will change. Or even shows like The Lifestyles of the Rich and the Famous, my favorite. We say to ourselves how awesome it must be to live a luxurious lifestyle like that. We think to ourselves those people who own those beautiful homes, large yachts, and exotic sports cars must be so happy. Well, think again. These shows are often sensationalized, and the truth is when someone reaches that kind of status, they rarely find happiness. The reason is because human beings need challenge in order to be happy. What do I mean? Take a look at Elvis Presley, Marilyn Monroe, or Kurt Cobain. These were all people by society's terms who should have been extremely happy. They had all the fame and notoriety any person could ever hope for, all the money and talent you could shake a stick at, but they still found themselves miserable. Why? Because they were not able to generate happiness within themselves regardless of socioeconomics. A lot of celebrities turn to drugs or alcohol to escape from the fact they are not fulfilled, and it becomes a downward spiral. It gets to the point where everything is handed to them, and as a result, their basic core needs are not met. What do I mean by basic core needs? Human beings have a set of core needs. These are needs, not preferences. These are different from Maslow's hierarchy of needs. These needs were discovered by Tony Robbins in the late 90s. We as humans can go for a little while without meeting one of these needs, but if too much time goes by, we become unhappy. The needs are 1. Certainty, otherwise known as security. We need to feel like there are things we can count on, like we have a good roof over our head, we have money to pay our bills, food to survive, etc. A good family can also create this foundation. 2. Variety. Tony Robbins calls this uncertainty. It is an absolute need to have a feeling of variety or uncertainty. The slight uncertainties we face day to day creates a sense of anticipation. 3. Significance. We all need to feel like we matter or we are significant to someone or something. 4. Love and connection. I mean true love and connection, not the superficial love like these famous people receive from the public. 5. Growth. We all need to feel like we are growing and evolving as human beings in the 4 major areas of life. The 4 major areas are love, health, wealth, and happiness. 6. Contribution. To contribute and make other lives better. Notice I did not write other people's lives because some people meet this need by making animals' lives better. When we satisfy this need, the other 5 are usually met simultaneously. Everything we do in life is to either directly or indirectly meet these 6 needs. Many times people will do things in very dysfunctional or unhealthy ways in an attempt to meet these needs. Notice something. Need number 1 and need number 2 are inherently opposed. What do I mean by this? On the one hand, we need certainty, which is need number 1. But on the other hand, we also need variety or uncertainty, which is need number 2. These 2 needs work against each other, and this is why we often become unhappy. This is the great paradox. If you are in a relationship with someone who gives you a lot of security, which is need number 1, let us say they're always available and they call you 10 times per day. There's usually a point when you begin to lose attraction for that person. Why does this happen? The reason is because you become too certain and your other need for uncertainty is not being met. In marriage, many spouses become too comfortable. The spice is gone and there's no longer a sense of anticipation. This is the leading catalyst for cheating. Notice I wrote this as a catalyst, not the reason. Statistics tell us up to 50% of men and over 30% of women admit to cheating. Add this to a plethora of other problems and no wonder over 50% of marriages in America fail. Even if the spouses live by good values, we are biologically driven to satisfy these needs, and the motive inside is way too powerful. Guess what? This is also why we should never expect life to be smooth without challenge. As soon as we are meeting need number 1, we begin to violate need number 2. The great paradox is we were all born thinking life should just be easygoing and smooth. Some of us have developed a deep resentment for the fact that life is not this way. The truth is, no one ever said life was going to be smooth, easy, or fair for that matter. If everything was totally smooth and easy without challenge, we would end up dysfunctional, off balance, and depressed. Now, I am not here to debate whether or not there is a God. There are over 4,000 religions, and whichever one you choose is the right one for you. However, we do want to be aware that a lot of religions support the notion of original sin. That connotation itself sets us up to be unhappy while we are alive. If we keep thinking we have to wait to go to heaven to be happy, and we all have a cross to bear, so to speak, this can deeply affect our daily happiness. I say, why wait? As you can see from the 6 human needs, it has nothing to do with original sin. It has to do with the fact that problems are needed for evolution and growth, and this is the very psychological makeup of a human being. Maybe God, in her infinite wisdom, was the one who set it up this way, so we would live a life of variety. So this does go along with any religious belief. Understanding your human needs is very powerful because at any given time, if you start feeling unhappy, you can look at these 6 needs and say, what is not being satisfied? Then look at it as a call to action to rebalance your needs. But remember, life is not designed to stay that way. It will soon become off balance again, and that is the dichotomy. This is all part of evolving, and this is necessary for reaching our potential if we accept it as such. We can't let it stop us or let it develop learned helplessness like most of society. Understanding these 6 human needs gives us the awareness that should have been taught to us in high school. This awareness will give you the control and clarity as to how to make yourself happy at any time. The bottom line is sometimes life is a grind and we must learn how to love or at least appreciate the grind. Life is a series of ups and downs, achievements and challenges. We must begin to redefine the word happiness. Earlier in this book, I went over the myth that some people think happiness is in a person's genetic structure. So far, we found that happiness really comes from our perspective, whether or not we believe we are meeting our standards and what we are conditioned to focus on. We also found happiness is a state of mind generated inside by having all our basic core needs met, and nothing outside us can make us happy long term. But we also found we are not designed to be perfectly happy all the time, and we must learn to appreciate the grind, for it allows the space for happiness to flourish again. As I stated earlier, a lot of people think if they are too happy, they will begin to deteriorate in performance. The truth is, the only time we begin to deteriorate is when we become too comfortable. In success psychology, we call this death rattle. When we are too comfortable, we often find ourselves unmotivated and dispassionate. So the next logical question would be, what helps us stay out of too much comfort? The answer is problems. That's right, most of us are conditioned to resent problems, but problems are the very thing needed in order to keep us growing as human beings. Without daily problems, there would be nothing to push against, which forces us out of that comfort zone. Although our problems can sometimes be overwhelming, and it may seem nice for a short time without them, we humans actually need problems, or life has no meaning. Instead of trying to eliminate all problems, we should change our perspective, and we may even consider feeling a bit grateful for them. My original guitar player and friend, Mark Proto, is one of the top jiu-jitsu instructors on the East Coast. Mark showed me one day how many defense techniques in jiu-jitsu or karate will actually use the momentum of the other person's strike as an opportunity to get into an offensive position. So the strike coming from the opponent is the problem. A good fighter uses that problem to their benefit. So in life and in business, if a problem arises, it is calling you to act, calling you to be creative, calling you to research, calling you to become more resilient and turn up the heat. Just like a great jiu-jitsu fighter uses a problem or a strike to their benefit, we want to anticipate the fact that there will be problems ahead of time. When the problem is headed toward us, we want it to trigger something in us to act. We then want to try to meet that problem halfway and use its momentum in our favor, or at least have it trigger us to get up and get moving. Remember, movement creates energy and healing. Life is a huge classroom, and we learn the lessons needed as we go. We also become stronger in character with every problem solved. Every time we aggressively attack a problem in a particular area of life, we expand in all the other areas. Happiness comes from a fine balance of being willing to innovate through our problems and seek opportunities. Add this to an appreciation for the abundance we already have in a country like America. Use your problems as stepping stones, and you will begin to gain an equal or greater value on the back end. In the next chapter, we will talk about something I call the flow zone. Chapter 7, the flow zone. Up to this point, I've been giving you subtle suggestions throughout this text to help support a specific blueprint and belief system about your life. Suggestion is very powerful because it works behind the scenes and reprograms your behaviors. All this was designed to set a foundation for you so the happiness factors can work at optimum levels. Have you been noticing over the past few days you've been more dynamic in your communications? Have you been noticing some improvement in your happiness overall? I bet you have, so let us keep up the momentum. Remember, reconditioning your mind is like tuning a guitar. If we put new strings on a guitar, we would have to retune those strings over and over until the guitar stays in tune. Even after the guitar was in tune, we would have to go back and retune those strings from time to time. It is a requirement you read this book between 12 to 15 times. This is a short book, and as you read it, it will get easier each time. By the third or fourth read, you should be able to blow through this book within a few hours in the morning and at night. Ideally, you want to read this book during these two time frames. This is very important because we need to get these new positive perspectives deep-seated in your psychology. My clients who have read the happiness factors over 12 to 15 times are some of the happiest, most purpose-driven people on the planet. So take the time to do this and you will begin to see massive change in your life. In this chapter, I will introduce to you something I call the flow zone. Please do not confuse the flow zone with the happiness factors. In the online marketing world, giving value is key, and giving value is how online experts create raving fan customers. I wanted to give a ton of value here so you know you can count on me to always deliver. That is why I included different formulas and everything we've been going over up until now. I'm in this for the long run, and my goal is to create a groundswell of people who will come to me whenever they need coaching, insight, philosophy, positive reinforcement, marketing, entertainment, and advice. You see, I know if I give you more value than you expect, you will come back to my website again. You will get involved with my online courses and attend my seminars. You may even come see my rock band perform. You will also tell your friends about me, and that is very important. It has always been my dream to market my principles and products about how to create a better life on the internet. Now that I have the chance to be with you, I want to make sure I make an impact. I hope you can see I really packed this ebook with good insights. So what is the flow zone, you ask? The flow zone is a separate awareness I'm giving you on top of all the other principles in this book. The flow zone is a zone we often get into by default when we feel happy. We've all heard of the book Flow by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Well, the flow zone is like the principles in the book Flow, only looked at globally and taken a few steps further. So there is Flow by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, and there is the flow zone, which is my own creation. When Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi talks about flow, he's talking about an experience which happens while doing a particular skill or action. The flow zone comes from a very specific way of looking at our life and its circumstances as a whole. The flow zone is a very specific way of looking at the past, present, and future. It also comes from a perspective which is generated by a very specific set of beliefs. If we tend to look at the past with gratitude, even if there were struggles and challenges, we will tend to feel happier. If we are just outside our comfort zone in the present, that slight pressure forces us to be fully in the moment. If we interpret that slight pressure as something pleasurable, it releases dopamine in the brain. Dopamine is the brain's happy drug. If we have a sense of anticipation for the future, this also helps us be happy because we have something to look forward to. When we have a sense of all three, this is when we enter the flow zone. One day I realized I should dissect how I was able to maintain happiness and stay detached from the outcome when all hell was breaking loose around me. The beliefs we must adopt in order to live within the flow zone are these. 1. You were put here for a reason. 2. The problems in your life are put there to help guide you toward your destiny. 3. Everything, yes, I do mean everything, happens for a reason. These beliefs will help you see enough into the future and allow you to get through the difficult times rather than getting caught up. An average American lifespan is about 78 years. Within that realm of time, you were put here to love and learn. You are a magnificent creature who was put on this planet for a reason, and you have important work to do. You are a spiritual being having a human experience, and if you understand this, you will have a sense of purpose and direction, but you must first initiate. It is up to you to believe, my friend. It is up to you to take control of the thoughts and images in your mind. It is up to you to speak positively and create good meaning out of every situation. The fourth and most important belief we need in order to live in the flow zone is from the quote I put in chapter 1. It is to know that every setback, every challenge, and every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. Entropy is a universal law that says everything in life is on a gradual decline into disorder. So whether we're talking about a good relationship, a nice car, a good flying helicopter, or a lean muscular body, these all require maintenance. So even a good belief system is something that needs to be maintained. In order to keep these beliefs going strong in our life, we need to continually find references to back them up. Finding references to our beliefs is the maintenance required to keep them strong and working well. In the next chapter, I will give you the happiness factors. Chapter 8, The 5 Factors. So here is the moment we've all been waiting for. In this chapter, I will give you the solution and framework for the 5 happiness factors. I will also get you off and running so you can begin using them in your life. Remember, this is your life and you only get one chance to live it. I want you to make a committed decision to take these 5 factors and use them well. Life was meant to be an upward journey and you were put here for a special purpose. Your job is to find that purpose, but the only way to do that is to live purposefully every day. The word paradox means something that is self-contradictory. Many secrets to life hide within a paradox, and that is why they remain secrets. It is no different when we're talking about happiness and finding our purpose. Life is funny like that. In order to find our purpose, we have to be happy. But if we haven't found a good purpose yet, it is hard to be happy. So it's like a catch-22, but the search for answers should never stop. You are either growing or dying. You are either moving upward or falling. You are the only person who can change the cycle by doing something different, and these 5 factors will help you do that. One point I would like to bring up about depression before I reveal the happiness factors. As stated earlier, I am not much into conspiracy. However, it is pretty obvious the media focuses on fear, scarcity, and disorder. In politics, they sell you a propaganda to make you feel like you should be outraged at a particular issue or candidate. It gets blown way out of proportion, so all I'm saying is don't believe all the hype. As stated earlier, the media does this for ratings because anything shocking or fear-driven grabs your attention. Yes, there are many problems we face in the world, but the disorder the media focuses on every day is only a small percentage of what is really happening compared to the grand scope. Due to this, many people pick up a fear-driven scarcity mindset. The general rule of the law of attraction is whatever we believe or focus on, we attract. This is not some hairy-fairy principle. Scientists are actually beginning to prove the law of attraction. We all know perception creates reality. So how far can we really take that statement? If I was to ask you to think up another word for perception, what would it be? Maybe the word would be focus. So if perception creates reality, then focus creates reality. Focus creating reality is the law of attraction at play. We live in a cause and effect universe, so if your mind is subconsciously conditioned for scarcity or fear, that is exactly what you will get. I wrote an entire book on this subject, but for now, just know you have to be very careful where you put your attention. Focus on what you're grateful for and watch your life change around you. Just look around you. Do you have to walk to work, or do you drive in a nicely designed automobile with temperature control on smoothly paved roads? Do you go into the wild to hunt your next meal, or can you drive to the grocery store and choose from foods already laid out and pre-packaged? Look outside your window. Look at all the colors. Look at the leaves on the trees. Look at the colors of the sky. Think about the highways you drive on and the sidewalks you walk on. There is abundance all around you every single day. Your job is to notice. Through the repetition of the media's negative images, our subconscious often becomes conditioned for unhappiness, fear, doubt, and negativity. Add all this to the daily pressures of life, and no wonder 14.8 million people suffer from depression in America. Keep in mind, the drugs administered for all this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. There are a lot of pharmaceutical companies making lots of money off this. Now, I'm not here to say depression isn't real, because some people do have a chemical imbalance, but America has gotten way out of control. All I can do is tell you how this has worked for other people, and these factors have allowed me to create a life of freedom beyond anything I've ever expected. They've also helped me eliminate depression more than once in my life. If nothing else, these factors are designed to raise your happiness and get you locked into that feeling of purpose. The better sense of purpose you have, the happier you will become. I want you to have these factors because they can change your life, so stick with me. When I was struggling, I had a habit to conjure up feelings and images of sadness, loneliness, and despair. Do you ever do this by default? For many people, depression comes from a patterned way of looking at the world. At the time, my mind was conditioned to focus on what was wrong in life rather than what was right. It was like a recipe I would play over and over. In fact, Tony Robbins calls this just that, emotional recipes. You know what I mean. First, something would happen to disappoint me. Then I would begin thinking about other disappointing situations. Then I would begin to feel sorry for myself. Then I would picture more things going wrong and sprinkle in a little complaining. We all play these little recipes in our minds subconsciously, and they happen within milliseconds. The beauty of this is we can change these recipes if we are aware of them. We can also use recipes to get into a happy state. For me, when I get happier, first I begin to breathe heavier. Then I have a slight smile that stays on my face, almost like a smirk. Then I ask the question, what is funny around me? Because I'm focused on what is funny, I then begin making funny comments. Then I begin to feel better. These recipes happen all the time, but are so subconscious we rarely notice them. If you want to see a good example of emotional recipes, watch children. Children are very transparent because they live right in the moment. So what are some of the recipes you play to get into a happy state of mind? How about a negative state of mind? If you stay aware of your recipes, you will begin noticing them as they are happening. By the way, as soon as you notice a recipe getting you in a poor state of mind, quickly interrupt that pattern and begin playing a happy recipe. The more you do this over and over, the quicker you will find yourself jumping right to the happiness recipe. Then it begins to happen on its own, and voila, you are conditioned for happiness. Remember, just like anything good in life, we have to keep maintenance on this. No doubt you will begin to slip back to your old behaviors, but no worries. Just do the above steps again. You will find it easier to stay in a happy state of mind the more you do this. Once you've stopped the negative recipe and turned it around, you should have a positive mantra ready to go. Mantras are powerful because they command the subconscious mind to go in a particular direction. So once you broke the pattern, top it off with saying something out loud like, I am creating a powerful life, or I'm headed toward my dreams, or I'm turning my life around, or I'm taking control of my mind and emotions. The above steps may sound a little trite, but believe me, if you just do this, it will change everything. This is all part of a Tony Robbins technology known as neuroassociative conditioning. This technology is very calculated and proven to work on hundreds of thousands of people. You see, instead of going out to get a prescription, I read a book. The book was Awaken the Giant Within. Not only did I read the book once, I read it 10 times. I dissected it, making notes all over the pages and marked it up. I knew Tony had knowledge that could change my perspective, and I wanted to get it right. Then I did something less than 5% of the population do when they read a book. I employed the principles. Before you go buying into the idea you're depressed, here are a few more steps I want you to try. A. Make a committed decision to not live with those negative emotions anymore. Say to yourself, I've had it. My loved ones deserve a better version of me to show up, and so do I. Think of the cause and effect in your life from not being happy. For instance, think about the people you love and how you don't want to influence them in a negative way. B. Begin conditioning your mind to focus on what you're happy about rather than what is wrong. Do the same steps I wrote above pertaining to recipes. Whenever you catch yourself focusing on something that makes you feel depressed, quickly interrupt that pattern. Do something to snap yourself out right away. I quickly move my body differently and I direct my mind on something that makes me passionate. The famous Dr. Joe Dispenza calls this a pattern interrupt. Joe's work is brilliant. He goes into deep detail about how to recondition your mind to make new neurological connections. What he teaches can make you feel better and adopt new behaviors. The next thing you want to do is to get your body moving into action. Some kind of action, any action. If you don't know what actions to take, just start. The universe works off momentum, and if you begin moving, doors will open for you, showing you the right direction. The mind works with the body and the body works with the mind. The mind and body are one, and the cells in your body have intelligence just like the mind. This just takes a little creativity and follow through. C. Start moving toward your grand vision, i.e. get yourself moving toward those meaningful goals and dreams you have. D. Push yourself to be very productive every day. Remember, as long as you get enough sleep, your body has the capability to be productive every waking hour. When we sleep, we repair the cells in our bodies, so rest is also very important. We as humans were put here to be productive. Unproductive people become depressed. I'm not here to say you should go out and work every waking second of the day, but many people stop themselves because of a belief that says, I must not push myself too hard. If you push yourself, your mind and body will adapt. Age, race, gender, religion, or genetics has nothing to do with it. Don't believe the hype. E. Smile. Move quickly throughout the day, get into a groove, and smile more often. So, are you ready for the happiness factors? Let's do this. Factor number 1. Prime the day. Every single morning, you must get up a bit earlier and prime the day. Why must we prime the day? Because we want to direct where our lives are going, and first thing in the morning is the time to do it. Think of an airplane or helicopter. Aircraft are designed to be very light so they can fly. The helicopters I fly hold 2 people and are only 1,350 pounds with fuel and 2 passengers. The winds and weather often knock a helicopter off course, but the pilot will make constant adjustments to make the aircraft go in the right direction. When I was first training to fly, my instructor said something that was so simple, but I will never forget. On a very windy day, I was making an approach to runway 17 at Meriden-Markham Airport in Meriden, Connecticut. I was at about 2,200 feet, and the large part of the runway was blocked off. I had this tiny little strip below where I was supposed to land the helicopter. I was being blown all over the place. Finally, my instructor said, Brad, make the helicopter go where you want it to go. Now, I know that sounds so trite, but think about it. Sometimes we need to be reminded of this. Sometimes we forget it is up to us and only us to land that helicopter. It is your job to take total responsibility and complete command of the controls. There is no one else who can do it for you. If you do not make the day go where you want it to go by priming in the morning, you are left up to the daily winds and blustery chance. Most people leave their days up to chance, and that is why they often find themselves unhappy. So how do we prime the day properly? Priming step number 1, water and oxygen. As soon as you wake up every day, have a gallon of water at your bedside. The first thing you should do is begin taking sips from the gallon and continue drinking that gallon throughout the day until you finish. We all know how important drinking water is for our health and vitality. When we sleep, we release toxins and our bodies become dehydrated, so we must start drinking as soon as we wake up. Drinking a gallon per day will make a huge difference. A lot of people have a hard time getting enough water in every day. With this simple formula, you will easily hydrate your body, create a habit that is measurable, and bring health and energy into your life. When you go shopping, simply buy as many gallons of water you need to last until the next shopping trip. Put 1 gallon at your bedside every day and begin this process right away. If you are unable to drink the whole gallon within 24 hours, that's okay. Just do it again the next day. You will eventually work up to a full gallon and you will get to the point where you can't imagine life without that water gallon. As far as getting more oxygen into the blood, I have a series of breaths I want you to do as soon as you wake up, and here they are. 1, breathe in slow for a count of 30 seconds. What I mean is, breathe in so it takes a total of 30 seconds to fill up your entire lung capacity. 2, hold the breath for 15 seconds. 3. Let out this breath for another 15 seconds. That means as you're letting the breath out, hold it back so the breath is let out slowly over the course of 15 seconds. Do 4 to 8 sets of these as you're doing your other morning priming steps. This type of breath cleansing is a major secret to health and vitality. This cleanses toxins in the lymph system, which is a major part of the immune system. These breaths will skyrocket your energy and help eliminate disease. The process of holding it back for the last 15 seconds also trains your diaphragm to speak and sing properly. You may even notice your voice a bit deeper after you do these breaths. When you first start doing these priming steps, it will seem hard to stick to at first, but stick with it. It gets easier through time. These days, I do all these steps every morning automatically. It has become as easy as just brushing my teeth. If you fall off one day, just try again until it sticks. This is a lifestyle and habit which pays dividends for years to come. Priming step number 2, power questions. After you begin drinking your water gallon and have begun doing your breaths, immediately start asking yourself power questions. Asking power questions is again a process invented by Tony Robbins. As you can see, I use many of Tony's techniques, and Tony has been a major influence in my life. The reason I'm all about Tony is because Tony has an incredible understanding of human behavior. Tony is self-educated, and because of this, he is not bound within the myopic views often imposed on people through traditional education. There is a reason why Tony is so famous. It is because his techniques work, and they work every time. I have to say, this one factor has changed my life incredibly, and this is probably the most important action or factor you can take daily. Remember, we want to land that helicopter and ask these questions as soon as we awake. Your brain focuses on what you ask it. The process of thinking is you evaluating the world around you. Evaluating the world around you is nothing more than you asking and answering questions. So thinking is nothing more than asking and answering questions. Most of this goes on subconsciously, so if we ask the right questions, we take back control of our mind and emotions. When we take control of our mind and emotions, we take control of our life. The Bible says, "Ask and you shall receive." Tony Robbins says, "Questions are the answer." John F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King both knew the power of this. Questions are extremely powerful for priming a good day. Here are the questions you need to ask yourself every single morning, and if you're a real trooper, you'll ask them at night as well. A. What am I happy about? There is always something you can be happy about in your life. It doesn't have to be something huge. Maybe you're happy about the fact you live in America, or maybe you're happy about the fact you have clothing to wear, or food to eat. Whatever it is, find something and focus on how you're happy about it. The more we direct ourselves to be happy, the more we train our brain to rewire it to create more happiness. B. What am I excited about? Ask yourself that question and come up with an answer. No matter how bad you think your life is, you can always come up with an answer like, I'm excited about the fact I'm alive, or I'm excited about the fact I'm going on vacation a month from now, or I'm healthy. We want to consciously direct our mind, and you can always find an answer. Feel the feeling of excitement after you've answered that question. C. What am I looking forward to today? This is a big one. Now, let us say you have to go to a job you hate, and after that, you have to help your cousin move across town. Unless you're excited to spend some time with your cousin, you have nothing to look forward to. Well, you can always find something like, I'm looking forward to getting this day over with, or I'm looking forward to completing this day at work. If I complete this day at work, it's another day of pay, which can be used toward my Spanish classes. When I complete my Spanish classes, it will get me closer to my dream of learning how to speak Spanish. I don't know what it is for you, but if you really look at your life, you can always find something you're looking forward to. Maybe you're looking forward to watching a movie later on that night. Find something. D. What am I passionate about? Find something that makes you passionate and begin feeling those feelings. Then picture your goals as you're feeling passionate. When we deeply visualize and attach positive feelings to our goals and targets, something magical happens. Attaching emotion to your vision helps attract it into your life. I realize that sounds a bit metaphysical, but all I can do is tell you how powerful this has worked for me in my own experience. Even if it's something you don't have in your life yet, choose something that makes you passionate. I remember the first time I saw professional modeling photos of a girl who grew up right in my hometown. She's a fitness model. Her name is Erin. Not to brag, but I personally have dated a lot of beautiful women. A lot of the women I've dated in the past have become some of my best friends. Even after all that, when I first saw Erin's photos, I was taken back a bit. I even messaged Erin in a very nice way on Facebook to tell her how impressed I was by her images. Erin looks like an angel. If you are a man, just knowing there are women out there who are that beautiful can develop inspiration in you. Not in a creepy or sexual way. I'm talking about a healthy inspiration. Erin's photos represent an angelic beauty and elegance. In this way, she delivers extreme value to the world through her modeling. So whatever makes you passionate, now is the time to remember what makes you feel alive. What is it for you? If you are a woman, maybe it's Mel Gibson. Maybe it's not about the opposite sex. Maybe it's about the same sex. Maybe it's about something like driving a fast car or painting on a canvas. I don't know what it is for you. This is your time to be creative and focus on what makes you feel passionate during the priming process. E, what am I grateful for? This is another big one. There's something magical about being grateful. Something happens in the universe when we say thank you. Maybe it's something small, like I'm grateful for the good night's sleep I just had, or I'm grateful for the breakfast I'm about to eat. I'm grateful for my family or my friends, my talent for getting people to smile, or maybe it's the fact that you're almost graduated from school. I don't know what it is for you, but sure as the sun rises, there are things in your life you can be grateful for if you really look for them. Priming step number 3, read or journal something inspirational. We live in a negative world, and one of the first actions you must take in order to live a happy, successful life is to feed your mind good input every morning. This is all part of priming. This may sound like a lot to do, but believe me, if you prime the day properly, it will change your life and ultimately create more time in the long run. Instead of pushing snooze to the very last minute, isn't it about time you mastered your mornings? There is nothing special about people who get up earlier. They have just created a good habit, and you can do the same. If you fall off one morning, just try again the next. Also, you can start off small. Just set the alarm 15 or 30 minutes earlier. When the alarm goes off, just think of me. Picture me in your mind and say to yourself, what would Brad do? He would get up and start priming the day. That's what he would do. I'm with you, my friend. At this point, you want to read or journal for at least 10 to 20 minutes or more. This will get your mind sharp and on point. These days, unless I'm singing or doing a seminar, I go to bed at 8 p.m. I get up at 2 a.m. After 7 hours of sleep, I usually write my books or develop my programs early in the morning. This feeds the soul, and there's something magical about the morning hours. You can even watch the sunrise. This is a great way to start your day. I also do my research and study other authors during this period of time. This gives me positive reinforcement right from the get-go. Priming step number 4, move. After journaling or reading, do some kind of weight training or cardio. It doesn't necessarily have to be a lot, but it must be in the morning. Getting the blood flowing and our heart rate up during this period of time is a major secret. If you often find yourself unhappy or if you struggle to be productive, this step can change everything. If you are a bodybuilder, you can do your whole workout here or just 20 or 30 minutes of cardio. By the way, if you do your cardio in the morning, it raises your metabolism for the rest of the day. You begin burning fat and it lasts all day long. Although it may feel uncomfortable at first, just keep doing this and you will get used to it. This also allows you to get it over with. When you come home from work, you have more time to work on your dreams rather than spending it all night at the gym. Take control. Priming step number 5, get quiet and release. The principle of yin and yang is a concept in Chinese philosophy. This principle says that all things exist as inseparable and contradictory opposites, like dark to light and old to young. These two opposites often attract and complement each other. The symbol shows neither pole is superior to the other, and the correct balance between the two poles must be reached in order to achieve harmony. A lot of people do good setting up their targets and taking action toward them, but never take the time to release it to the universe. The basic discipline of creation is have a target, take action toward it, and initiate. At the same time, we do not want to hold on too tightly to its outcome. Everything is a balance like yin and yang, and when we hold on too tightly, our daily actions become out of line and off balance. Within this period of time, either praying or doing some kind of meditation will help you release. Meditation is actually a discipline. What I mean is, meditation trains your mind to stay calm instead of reacting to the outside world. When we train our mind to not react, we have serious power. Meditation can also be a form of self-hypnosis, and it can help you rid of any unwanted behaviors. The techniques I use was founded by a man called Roy Masters. Check out my video about meditation on YouTube entitled How to Meditate Properly, Bradley Lenart, Meditation Tips. After you get quiet, you should also stretch all the muscles in your body. If you're holding negative energy, stretching will help you release it. Factor number 2, set your targets. Your targets are your goals. The word goal is overdone, so when we hear someone talking about goal setting, many people zone out because they think they've heard it all before. I use a different terminology like the word target. Think of yourself like an arrow flying toward a destination. The question is, where will you land 10 to 15 years from now? Human beings have an incredible power to be able to take a thought and make it into reality. When we set our targets or goals, then write them on paper, something magical happens universally. We take something intangible and begin to bring it into physical reality. When we write down our targets or goals, we begin to initiate their creation. When we do this, we are taking a vision which is made from energy and we are physically bringing it into the material world through ink on paper. We also empower the RAS to work to its highest potential. Once you write out your goals, those targets will begin moving closer to you. Whether you and those targets meet in the future is up to you. In order to meet your targets, you have to deserve to meet your targets. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, effort, innovation, persistence, and fortitude. Right now, I want you to picture a hypothetical situation. Picture yourself winning the lotto. Let us say the lotto purse was the largest ever in history. Let us say you won $14 billion. The next day you go for a checkup at your doctor's and the doctor tells you that you only have 10 years to live. So within 1 week's time, you became a multi-billionaire, but you also found you only had 10 years left on this planet. What would you do? Where would you go? What would you do for your loved ones? Where would you live? What kind of car would you drive? What would you learn? Would you learn how to pilot a helicopter or airplane? Maybe it would be a boat for you. Would you build a house on a hill or move to a different climate? Would you go skydiving or would you go to the opera? Would you have a winter house in the tropics? How would you set your life up for the next 10 years? There are 9 major areas you can choose from when it comes to setting your targets. Number 1, material possessions and lifestyle. Number 2, wealth. Number 3, business and careers. Number 4, family and friends. Number 5, relationships and partner. Number 6, health. Number 7, audacious goals. Number 8, spirituality and gratitude. And number 9, contribution. Right now, I want you to write your top 5 to 7 targets or goals on paper. Look at the list above so it triggers ideas about how you want to create and choose within those areas. Also, write your targets in the present tense and be as specific as possible. This is very important. So if you want to build a house, write your targets like this. I, Brad Lenart, built a 12-room house with a jacuzzi, heliport, and in-ground pool in San Diego, California. I, Brad Lenart, earned $15 million per year as a multifaceted entrepreneur, helping people live better lives through my seminars, books, and programs. I, Brad Lenart, sing in a great cover band locally with great musicians. The phrases you want to use are action phrases in the present like these. I own, I build, I earn, I have, I sing, I play, I am, etc. Do not say I want. The law of attraction is tricky. If you say I want a house on the hill, you will attract more wanting. Do you see that? Instead, you want to say, I built a house on the hill, or I have a house on the hill. Remember, everything should be put down on paper as if it's already happened. So for me, here are my top 5 targets at this point in my life during the writing of this book. 1. I, Brad Lenart, earn $15 million per year while contributing to other people's lives through my message. 2. I, Brad Lenart, am in a relationship with a woman who I am deeply attracted to. She's easy to talk to, honest, and fun. We have a passionate relationship. 3. I, Brad Lenart, am touring the world with my seminars and playing locally in a great rock cover band. 4. I, Brad Lenart, fall between 5 to 8% body fat on a constant basis. 5. I, Brad Lenart, am changing people's lives and making a global impact with my message. Now go write your targets on paper right now. Go do it, do it, do it, do it. But come back to me when you are done for factor number 3. Factor number 3, visualize. Every great leader understands the power of visualizing. In fact, every single thing you see around you in the modern world was once a vision in someone's mind. We humans are extremely powerful, but there are a few things we must do in order to tap our full potential, and visualizing is one of them. The visioning process is all part of your nightly and morning routine. So we want to visualize in the morning when we prime the day, and also at night just before bed. Before we begin visioning, we must be very specific about how we want to create our future, and that comes from our targets we wrote above. When you visualize these targets in the morning and at night, sit down or lay in your bed with your computer at your side. Use headphones and go on YouTube to find your favorite band or music. Play the music of your favorite band in the background and have your targets listed on paper at your bedside. Read off your first target and close your eyes. Visualize yourself in a reality where that goal or target has been manifested. So for me, my first target is I, Brad Lenart, earn $15 million per year while contributing to other people's lives through my message. I will close my eyes and speak that target just like that. I, Brad Lenart, earn $15 million per year while contributing to other people's lives through my message. I will mantra that over and over. You want to command the universe to give you what you were put here to do. You are also deep-seeding that mantra into your subconscious. Then I picture myself looking at my yearly income statement. The statement, of course, has 15 million on it. I then see myself on stage speaking to thousands of people. I picture how the words I say affects their lives, how it affects their children, and eventually their grandchildren's lives. Then I feel the feelings I would feel as if I was making that much money every year. I start feeling a surge of passion, and I start to generate powerful positive emotions. I associate and attach those feelings to the images. I then begin to feel like I am there even stronger than mantra. Yes, I say things like, this is my new reality. I am a powerful creator. Life is a journey. I'm headed toward my dreams. I then picture the money flowing in abundance. When we visualize our targets, we want to visualize them in color. We want to smell the smells, feel the feelings, and hear the sounds just like we were there. We then want to amplify it to higher and higher levels. Picture yourself a confident, powerful person and visualize with as much detail as possible. If you have self-confidence issues, visualize yourself as a giant and everyone is smaller than you. Visualize yourself being dynamic and taking control of every situation. One side note here, a lot of people have negative hooks around money. Let's just get something straight before we continue. Money is not bad. Money is a magnifying glass. What I mean is if you have a lot of money and you are stuffy, arrogant, egotistical, and brash, the money will make you more stuffy, arrogant, egotistical, and brash. However, if you're a kind, giving, caring person, money will allow you to contribute to more people. Also, if you begin making more money, it doesn't mean you're taking from someone else. Money simply does not work like that. Yeah, sure, we should be competitive when it comes to giving value to the world, but money is just a representation of the value you give. Many rich people use their money as a tool to innovate and do great things in other people's lives. Don't believe the hype. It's okay to make as much money as you want. There's plenty out there, and there are no limits. Your job is to figure out how to get it. After you've visualized your first target for 3 to 10 minutes, move down the list to the next one. Continue through visualizing these goals, targets working together. Picture these targets supporting each other in symbiosis and see how they work to create an unstoppable force in your life. Picture yourself beginning to gain momentum. Picture your friends, family, and loved ones as a part of this. This is your circle. Realize that every person who is put in your life is put there for a reason. Realize you are reading this book for a reason. There are no accidents, and every person who crosses your path is there to show you something. Wealth surrounds you, and you have the universe as your playground. Picture yourself saying all the right words and doing all the right things exactly at the right time. Picture the universe as a huge, living, breathing superconscious, and you are deeply in tune with it. Say to yourself things like, I am sharp as a razor. I have an overflow of abundance. My friends, family, and loved ones are part of my circle, and everything around me supports the next situation. It all works together. I'm living a wondrous journey. I am gifted. I am guided. The universe works in my favor. All the answers are present and I receive them exactly at the right time. I have a wealth of knowledge. Wealth surrounds me. I can create anything. My life is enchanted. I lead by example. I take total responsibility. Every day I create a good environment. I am like a freight train and abundance circulates around me. I am flooded with value. I am flooded with love. I flood others with love. The universe loves me. God is within me. I am unstoppable. I have wisdom. I am self-reliant. I am self-aware. Age has nothing to do with it. Whether young or old, age is power. I am more efficient and effective every day. I find the answers. I will break through. I create a fun-filled environment for my spouse. I create an incredible environment for others everywhere I go. Problems are a learning experience, etc. Say these phrases passionately and think up more every day. When you put these mantras out into the universe, it creates a force that begins to attract extraordinary things to you. The stars become aligned and everything you do begins to work for you in your favor. Feeling emotion while saying these mantras is the glue which bonds these new beliefs and visualizations into reality. Go for it, my friend. You can do this. You can bet I do my visualizations every day, and when you do yours, I want you to think of me. Although you and I may have never met before, if you are here, you are part of my circle. I hope one day our paths cross and you will tell me how these mantras have changed your life. You see, in order to live a better life, we have to first create it in our mind's eye. This is the power we have as humans to co-create our lives. Plato was the first to have the idea of a parallel universe. The theory of a parallel universe is a theory with evidence which says there are other universes happening simultaneously. These parallel universes may have slightly different versions of you in them. like the version who has already achieved all your goals and targets. When we deeply visualize and attach powerful, passionate emotions to these visions, we are able to tap into a power that is unexplainable by science. We begin to morph into that reality, and the longer we visualize deeply, the more that reality begins to manifest around us. Factor number 4, diet and exercise. We touched a bit on this in factor number 1. Your body is the vehicle you use to get from point A to point B. When you are overweight or you're not in shape, it affects your entire life. The problem is most people have never been educated about metabolism. In America, we have so much food at our disposal and most of it is processed. Let me make this factor quick and easy. A, every day get up and just do some light cardio or jogging for 20 minutes or more. Get your heart rate up. B, eat every 3 to 4 hours and eat fist-sized meals. That means your meals should be the size of your fist. Schedule this so you are eating 5 to 6 times per day and don't eat after 8 p.m. Make the meals high in protein, moderate in fat, and low in carbs. Do not miss a meal. You cannot lose weight long-term by missing these meals or starving yourself. You will find it a bit difficult to keep on this, but it is worth it. In order to lose weight and have energy, you must eat the right foods at the right time consistently. Do it. This is a lifestyle. C, drink that water gallon. D, go food shopping at least once per week and buy the right foods so you have them. Don't buy junk. E, have one cheat meal on Sunday. Even God took a day off. This one cheat meal can be anything you want, but don't binge. Yes, ice cream, fried foods, whatever you want. During the week, when you are feeling like you want to go off your diet, just say to yourself, I will wait till Sunday. It doesn't matter what age, race, gender, or color. If you follow these steps above and stick to it, you will get your metabolism cranking. You will feel incredible, have more energy, and lose weight. This lifestyle will make you happy. Metabolism is a science, and just like anything, it is easy once you know what to do. I can go into deep detail about diet and exercise, but I won't. If you want to learn more, I'm coming out with a diet pretty soon. I call it the New Day Diet. Tell your friends and look for it. Factor number 5, secure and maintain proper beliefs. In order to maintain proper beliefs, first we must know which beliefs are hurting us. Then we must know which beliefs to adopt. We touched on the 3 major beliefs to adopt in order to live in the flow zone in Chapter 5. Do you remember what they were? 1. Everyone has a special purpose and you were put here for a reason. 2. Problems are put in your life to help guide you toward your destiny. 3. Everything I do mean everything happens for a reason. Here is the 4th belief you must adopt in order to live your fullest potential. 4. There is always a way if you are committed. Beliefs actually control everything we do. Yes, you guessed it, beliefs also control our happiness. There is no difference between you and someone you think is at a higher level than you. The only difference is they have more empowering beliefs. Therefore, they are able to tap into the resources more often. Everything works upon itself, and because they've empowered beliefs, they took more action, which also created more skill through time. So happiness and success rarely has anything to do with intellect. It's about beliefs. Remember, I was that kid from a small town in Connecticut who was shy. I had social issues and I had nothing going for me. My 6th grade teachers were concerned for my safety at home. Today, I live a life of freedom beyond anything I could expect. I've toured the world as a lead singer in a rock band. I've built my own personal helicopters with my own 2 hands and registered them airworthy with the FAA. I've flown helicopters through the Arizona mountains and lived an adventurous lifestyle. Although we grew apart romantically, I manifested the exact woman of my dreams who is now my best friend. I have seen and done 2,000 times more than the average person. All this has not happened by chance. Again, I say to you, I don't mention all this to brag. I mention this because I want you to understand the importance of beliefs. When I was struggling, I held a scarcity mindset and was unable to identify any opportunities in my life. Little by little, day by day, year by year, I began changing my internal beliefs about what I thought was possible. As my beliefs changed, my life changed. Today, I am happier than I've ever dreamed of, and I have a sense of power and control beyond anything I expected. Maybe you're a housewife or teacher. Maybe you're a policeman or musician. Maybe you're just a person who's looking to make your way and you're not looking to create anything out of the ordinary. Whoever you are, there is one thing I could ask you to take from this book. I would ask you to realize the power of beliefs. Now, I know a lot of inspirational speakers talk about beliefs, and you have probably heard all this before, but sometimes we just need to be reminded of what we already know. I'm asking you to realize that anything is possible, and if you believe that you can change anything, with persistence, a willingness to learn, and follow through, you can design your life into a masterpiece. But first, you must believe it is possible. I want you to do a very important exercise that can change your life. Think back to when you were a kid and try to remember some of the negative phrases you may have heard growing up. What I mean is things like people are mean, or relationships are hard, money is evil, or as soon as you make it, it's gone. Life is hard, or life is tough. You're going to run yourself down, or I'm too young. These are just examples of innocent phrases kids hear growing up, which can affect their potential. Awareness is usually very helpful, so this is why I bring this to your attention. Just go over some of the negative phrases you've heard growing up and write out at least 5 of them on paper. On the opposite side of the paper, I want you to write its antithesis. What do I mean by this? If the phrase you wrote says life is so hard, the antithesis or opposing view would be life is hard when you give up easily, but the daily challenges make it exciting. If the phrase is relationships are hard, write on the back relationships are easy when you make them playful and keep the passion going. If the phrase is I'm too young or too old, write on the back youth is power or age is power. Age is intelligence and youth is flexibility. Like Deepak Chopra says, there is no actual reality. There is only the perception of reality, and we perceive our reality through the filter of our beliefs. Finally, your next step is a very important one. Every morning when you visualize, take out the backside of this paper. Make sure it is the backside, not the front. Then visualize yourself conducting your life as if you were a person who believes the empowering belief. What do I mean? Well, if your limiting belief was relationships are hard, then visualize the opposite phrase you wrote happening in your life. So the opposite or antithesis was relationships are easy when you make them playful and keep the passion going. So visualize yourself in a relationship, keeping it playful and keeping the passion going. Also notice and identify references which back up that empowering belief. What do I mean? Well, if the belief is relationships are easy when you make them playful and keep the passion going, then notice a relationship of someone you know who is doing well. Notice how they keep it playful if they do, and notice how they keep the passion going. This will reinforce the new empowering belief even further. Here is one more point about uncovering limiting beliefs. In priming step number 2, I told you about Tony's awesome power questions. Did you know you can ask yourself any question and this will connect you to a greater resource inside? So in order to uncover limiting beliefs, just ask yourself this question. What is a limiting belief that is holding me back? Ask the question with total expectation of getting an answer. Remember, your mind is connected to a super consciousness. You are part of a universe and all the universal intelligence lies within you. If you believe the answers will come, they will. So just ask yourself that question and wait for an answer. When I do this, I usually get the answer within a few minutes. It may take up to a week to get the right answer, but if you believe, it will come. I promise. Years ago, when I was uncovering some of my own limiting beliefs, I came up with things like, I never have enough energy. When I uncovered this belief, I wrote the antithesis and went over it every morning. I changed the belief to, I have as much energy as I need as long as I get adequate sleep. My energy literally skyrocketed, and it is the reason I'm able to be here with you today. Factor number 6, take nothing personal. What? You say factor number 6? I thought there were only 5 factors. You should know me better than that by now. I'm not going to let you get away with just 5 measly little factors here. My life is full throttle, and everything I do is to help provide greater value to others. I just had to add this extra factor quickly because this is a big one when it comes to happiness. In the book The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, the second agreement is never take anything personal. Just in case you never read the book, I wanted to pass that great knowledge along to you here. Remember, if someone attacks you verbally, crosses a boundary, or says something negative about you, it really is not about you. You are just a target for their own frustration, and it could have been anyone. Let us say someone targets you in a work setting. Many times people will do this because of jealousy. One of the greatest human behaviors is a sense of congruency with our own identity. So we humans want to look congruent at all times. Even if you prove someone wrong after they doubted you, they will probably continue to treat you poorly just because they want to look congruent. If you are the type of person who is still reading a book like The Happiness Factors all the way to Factor 6, you are very self-aware. Many people have never taken the time for self-awareness. Some people think self-awareness is a scam or a form of generic motivational diatribe. If you are living a life of high performance, you will find a lot of people who are threatened by you. Why does this happen? In their mind, you remind them of what they are not doing with their own life. Like I said in Chapter 2, a jealous spirit holds no logic. Realize these people live in a very limited reality. In many ways, it is not their fault. Find it in your heart to have compassion. Take the high road for the benefit of humanity and do not react. If you don't react or take it personally, you show by example that you are living the principles we have talked about in this book. Chapter 9, Conclusion. Well, that's right, we did it. We went through the happiness factors. I want to thank you for being here, and I want to thank you for your awesome willingness to learn. If you are here reading, you are obviously a special person. I'm sure you can see how important these principles are when it comes to living a successful and happy life. These factors will serve you well. I promise you, my friend, if you are diligent and you make these factors a part of your life, you can create more happiness and it will take you places you've never dreamed of. Until our paths cross again, I want to thank you so much for joining me. Today and forever, be yourself. Live full throttle, and I look forward to engaging with you in person someday. Come see me live sometime. And if you are so inclined, leave me a message via Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, or Twitter. I would love to hear from you. Remember, life was meant to be a journey, and every single one of us has a very important mission to complete. Go out there and give it everything you got. Remember, live full throttle. Always and forever, your friend, Bradley Lenart.